Imagine a world hanging by a thread. The year is 1983. The Cold War is at its frostiest peak. Two superpowers, the Soviet Union and the United States, are locked in a terrifying standoff, their fingers hovering over the buttons of nuclear annihilation. In this world, the first line of defense isn't a soldier, but a line of code. This is the story of the algorithm that almost ended everything, and the one man who dared to defy it. Deep inside a secret bunker near Moscow, a new sentinel was on watch, the Oko satellite system. This was the pinnacle of Soviet technology, a network of eyes in the sky designed for one purpose: to detect the launch of American nuclear missiles and give the Kremlin precious minutes to retaliate. The system was built on a simple, brutal logic. If it saw a launch, it sounded the alarm. No questions, no hesitation. The fate of humanity was entrusted to an algorithm. What could possibly go wrong? On September 26, 1983, the world found out. Just past midnight, the alarms blared. A giant screen in the command center flashed the most dreaded word: launch. The Oko system was reporting a single missile streaking out of an American silo heading straight for the Soviet Union. Then another, and another, until 5 missiles were reported in the air. The system's protocol was clear: alert Soviet High Command immediately. A full-scale retaliatory strike was the next logical step. The end of the world was just a phone call away. But something was wrong. On duty that night was Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov. He stared at the screen, his heart pounding. The data was unequivocal. The machine, this flawless logical creation, was screaming that the attack was real. But Petrov's gut screamed louder. Why only 5 missiles? A real first strike from the Americans would be an overwhelming barrage, hundreds, even thousands of missiles, not a meager 5. The system was state-of-the-art, but this didn't feel right. He was faced with a choice that no human should ever have to make: trust the infallible machine or trust his own fallible human intuition. Let's break down what was happening inside the machine. The Oko System S algorithm was designed to detect the intense infrared signature of a missile engine firing against the blackness of space. And technically, its code was working perfectly. It was detecting exactly what it was programmed to see: a massive spike in infrared energy. The problem wasn't the code, it was the context. What the satellite was actually seeing was a rare alignment of the sun, high-altitude clouds, and its own orbit. Sunlight was reflecting off the tops of the clouds in a way that perfectly mimicked the signature of a missile launch. The code was logically correct, but contextually, catastrophically wrong. It had no way of knowing the difference between a sunbeam and Armageddon. Back in the bunker, every second felt like an eternity. The system kept confirming the attack. His subordinates were panicking, demanding he report the launch up the chain of command. Every protocol, every drill, every order he had ever received told him to pick up the phone. Doing so would set in motion a chain of events that could not be stopped. The world would burn. Instead, Petrov made a decision. He looked at his team, took a deep breath, and reported the alarm as a system malfunction. A false alarm. It was a guess, an educated hunch against a mountain of digital certainty. He was betting the life of every person on the planet on the feeling that something was off. Think about the sheer weight of that moment. One man, armed only with his experience and intuition, stood against the absolute authority of a multi-billion-ruble computer system. If Petrov had followed protocol and a nuclear war had started, who would be to blame? The programmers who wrote the code? The commanders who trusted it? Or the machine itself? This incident threw a harsh spotlight on the moral limits of automation. We build machines for efficiency, for logic, to remove human error from the equation. But what happens when the situation requires not just logic but wisdom? Not just processing power, but judgment and empathy. The engineers behind the Oko system could never have programmed it to understand the geopolitical nuances of a first strike. They couldn't give it a gut feeling. They couldn't code for the unique, bizarre beauty of sunlight reflecting off clouds at just the right angle. That ability to understand context, to weigh ambiguous information and make a judgment call remains a uniquely human trait. The Petrov incident became a terrifying case study in the ethical design of automated systems. It taught us that no matter how sophisticated our technology becomes, we can't afford to completely remove the human from the loop. Today, this story is more relevant than ever. We're no longer just talking about early warning satellites. We're developing AI-driven defense systems, autonomous drones that can select their own targets, and predictive warfare algorithms that suggest military action before a conflict even begins. We are building faster, smarter, and more autonomous versions of the ecosystem every single day. The question is, are we building them with the wisdom we gained from its near-catastrophic failure? We need to design these systems with ethical oversight baked in from the start. We need frameworks that ensure a human is always in a position to question the machine, to understand its logic, and to hit the brakes when its conclusions don't feel right. Stanislav Petrov was not celebrated as a hero at the time. In fact, he was reprimanded for not following protocol and for filing incomplete paperwork. His story was kept secret for years. He passed away in 2017, relatively unknown, but his legacy is a profound reminder for our automated age. In the end, the code didn't save the world. The human who had the courage to question it did. The most important feature of any system isn't its processing speed or its data accuracy. It's the off switch and the wisdom to know when to use it. Thanks so much for watching. This is one of those historical stories that really makes you think about the world we're building. If you found this as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the intersection of technology and humanity. Let us know in the comments what you think. Could an AI ever truly replace human judgment? See you in the next one.